issues. The beauty of democracy cannot be the problem, or shall I say the solution. Is it a lack of democracy that has caused these challenges that we currently have?
Certainly. And, at times most people will think, I will solve security problem by recruiting more soldiers, by buying more equipment. That's not where the solution lies. And you remember I did an open letter to the president sometime. And in that open letter about insecurity, and I was clear, I said, arms alone cannot resolve this. You need to give people comfort and confidence in a system for them to stand to protect it. And that's what democracy stands for.
Give us an instance. I mean, let us be more practical here. We have bandits disturbing us. Now we've named them terrorists in the northwest of the country. The latest security issues that we've seen from of course, we also have issues in the southeast where you're from. But let's even take a look at the issue of terrorism as typified in the northwestern part of the country. How do you think that democracy, as you talk about it, will be the solution to that problem?
Well, let me also say that when you talk about these bandits, you find out that most of them are jobless youths. One way or the other, some are educated and have no job, some are not educated and did not have opportunity of having education. But when we talk about these bandits and this terrorism and all that, let's go back and look at what the experiences had been. I was in government since 1999. And I can tell you, check. When we were running election in 1999, that was the time we had zero level of criminality. Everybody worked hard, jumped in, participated in the process, expecting so much from democracy. I campaigned under that during that season. I have traveled, I've left my village one time at 7 p.m. to return to Abuja at 3 p.m. I had no fear of anything happening to me on the way, and nothing happened to me. Everybody was expectantly waiting for the dividends of democracy. After that election, just about 6 months, 1 year, then criminality started to rear up. And the armed type of it was first the militancy in the Niger Delta. And it got to such a serious and alarming proportion that even the economy of the country was threatened. I was in government then, and I know what President Obasanjo did. He started negotiating with them, started talking with them, with their leaders. Eventually, Yar'Adua took over and perfected the whole arrangement with the amnesty program. Now, most of those people are either gainfully employed or professionals in their own right, or even politicians in their own right. Until today, even other subsequent efforts to recreate militancy in the Niger Delta never worked because it was properly addressed. If you put in any policy that is not acceptable by all segments of the polity, it will not work.
But you think that that's certainly something that must be done? Reworking the foundations.
Oh, yeah. We have to make sure because that is how we can generate patriotism. That is how we can eliminate mistrust.
Well, you are no stranger to disagitations, having served under the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan. He set up a national conference to iron out some of these issues, and there was a report. Sadly, it was towards the end of his administration, and perhaps very little time to carry it out. But it would seem that there wasn't a lot of commitment or maybe a lot of trust even when that particular conference was set up. Did you really see it as something that was a solution to the problem, or was it just so that people could calm down with the agitations, which seemed to have reached a crescendo at that point?
Well, I am not sure that I agree with any of the two propositions you have made. But importantly, you need to get people over a table to discuss their issues, their complaints, their feelings, and whatever. So the National Conference provided that platform.
Considering the fact that you have held this philosophy on having more democracy for quite a while, I'm wondering whether you were able to bring it to bear as in your time as SGF, perhaps in some advisory roles to the president, because the Boko Haram problem was truly, and is still truly a very big problem.
But the truth of the matter is that President Goodluck's administration inherited Boko Haram. They didn't start under the regime of Goodluck. And they managed it to a point that we could say that at the time of his exit, that they were bringing it under control. But unfortunately, and I have insisted, that government is a continuum. Unfortunately, when the new government came, when the PC government came, everything put in place by Goodluck administration was wiped away.
Was it viewed as just an agitation? I'm trying to understand the lens through which the problem of Boko Haram was viewed. I mean, when you talked about more democracy, you gave the example of the Niger Delta and how that was resolved. Was this viewed as just another agitation for more participation in governance, or was this viewed as part of a wider or global radical ideology that was pervading, let's say, the world at the time, and was beginning to gain a very dangerous foothold in Nigeria?
No, I think it's the escalation of the thing that actually brought the international dimension to it, and it's gotten to a dimension that actually is becoming a real challenge. But the truth of the matter is that as at the time it started, it was a matter of religious right. It's really not an agitation to create a new state. But as it escalated, as it was mismanaged at that beginning, now they now graduated to asking for an Islamic state. So, and it's become a new dimension to it. And then, of course, given the situation in the world, they had an international interface with some of those other groups, and it's getting quite a challenge.
You know why I'm asking these questions? Because people will say that you have also been, the Secretary to the Governments of the Federation is not any kind of position. It's a pretty influential position.
No doubt.
Indeed. And that, if some of the solutions which you say you're bringing on board right now did not yield fruit, or I don't know if you brought them on board then, did not yield as much fruit as it ought to have yielded.
I don't know where you are coming from. Why I'm saying so is that as at today in Nigeria, you don't compare Goodluck's administration with what we have today. And you cannot cut what is presently on the stage and paste on Goodluck's administration.
No, but you have
Nigerians long for a return of the era of Goodluck.
You talked about how the security challenges that we've had.
It was largely under control.
It's a continuum.
Yes, but not that insecurity should continue.
It's something, yes, it's something that largely, it's something that has, we don't seem to have been able to eradicate.
You didn't get the continuum I'm talking about. I'm saying, no, let me finish. The continuum I'm talking about is that if a government should change and have changed, you will have to review the policies on ground and in the national interest decide on what to do with those policies. So you don't just scrap away policies because it belongs to the other administration, no. And that's the point I'm saying. I'm saying that if this administration had built from what the Goodluck administration had on ground, maybe we wouldn't have gotten to where we are today.
What policies were on ground at that time to actually tame the Boko Haram crisis? Because we know that it got to a head.
It's a security matter, and maybe it's not for me to discuss with you here. It's a security matter, but it was almost near control. And you should know it.
No, I'm asking this. There are so many things that we knew about the Goodluck Jonathan administration in terms of some of the things that were brought on board to combat, Boko Haram. Some of it is also being asked for right now. The governor of Borno State has been talking about how mercenaries should come back. We know that mercenaries were brought in during the time of President Goodluck Jonathan, especially just before the elections, to try and tame.
Okay, can you leave the details of security matters or how security things were there, because I am not one. Maybe when you have an SA before you, you can ask him for these details.
Okay, let me take another issue. The issue of agitations in the southeast. That has also been there even since the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo. We saw it calm down. It seems to have an undulating pattern, and it's usually championed by different groups. During the time of President Obasanjo, I think it was championed by Mr. Ralph Wazirike or Masob, and now you have a new group, IPOB. But these are agitations that have been there, you know, managed differently in times past. Now that we currently have IPOB, what exactly will you be bringing on board to try and, you know, solve the agitations raised by IPOB? Because they are asking for a separate state.
Well, if you ask me, and I can say this because I have consulted with many leaders, younger ones, and the crop of Southeast citizens. The greatest need of the Southeast today is to see themselves properly reintegrated into Nigeria. And if that is done, that takes out whatever agitation you are seeing. Is to have a feel that we are truly Nigerians. Have a feel that we are not limited because we come from Southeast. To have a feel that whatever position any Nigerian can aspire to in this country, that somebody from Southeast should be at liberty to aspire to that.
Do you feel limited?
This proper reintegration is actually the major need of the Southeast.
Do you feel limited?
Well, I am aspiring because I feel, even if you have limitations on me, which so many other things are trying to play out, that I don't accept such limitation. I don't accept it. I'm a Nigerian and I'm a Nigerian. And all I have become is because I'm a Nigerian. And if you plan to limit me by whatever reason, I will refuse to accept it. And that's what I'm doing.
I'm asking this because you have held the position of Senate President. That is, you know, a pretty high up position.
It's not a matter of height. I am not talking about a matter of this one or that one. You should be at liberty as a citizen to aspire to any position and to be there.
Did you feel limited in those times?
That's what I'm telling you, that I am aspiring to one that I feel situations are trying to limit me, and I'm saying no because I'm a Nigerian.
Okay.
I shouldn't be limited to aspire to the #1 position in Nigeria.
Millions of people living together in one community, working together in the same trade. We go into their midst, find out how they live and work.
Oh my goodness, food business is not an easy business.
I spent more than 35 years for this community.
We tell these stories and how they survive in this economy. Community Report, we tell your story.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous.
Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. Senator Pius is our guest tonight. He's former Secretary to the Government of the Federation under the government of President Goodluck Jonathan, and also former Senate President from the year 2000 to 2003. You have picked a nomination form, and it would seem that zoning, because you've talked about how you refuse for anything to limit you.
Yes.
But we've noticed that every time that you have come up, you know, in many positions as President of the Senate, at that time, the President of the Senate was zoned to the southeast. SGF of the Federation, I'm not certain how that came about. I don't know if zoning had a role to play in that, but I do know that oftentimes, usually in this consideration, zoning comes to play a role. Your party set up a committee to look at zoning for its presidential ticket. So far, so good. It's not yet clear because when they came out to brief the press, they didn't say in clear terms what they have decided. They said they were going to brief NEC. But from what we gathered behind the scene, it was that the party has thrown open the ticket. Do you think that this jeopardizes your chances now that you have shown interest in the #1 seat?
Well, as a person, I would say no. But for the system, I will have some concerns. But take it from me, I stand by whatever decision my party takes as a true party man. But I know that in the constitution of PDP, zoning and rotation is a fundamental principle. And it's clearly defined that the political offices, elective offices, and party offices should be zoned north, south, on the basis of north-south. And we had done the first one, which was zoning the party offices. And it was zoned north-south. So the only concern I will have is that, one, as a person, I don't feel anyhow about it. But the only concern I have is that democracy is a system of rule and order. And because it's a system of rules and order, it thrives on three certainties. And these three certainties are fundamental. Democracy thrives on certainty of tenure, certainty of structure, certainty of process. The moment you breach the process, you are actually bringing down that system. The moment you breach, the moment the structure is not certain, you are actually fighting that system. Somebody may benefit from it, but it's a system that you're killing.
It was saying that there's been a debate. Listening to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, he says that that zoning must work within the party. Zoning is limited to the party. There are those who have argued that no, zoning cannot be limited to the party. It has to take into cognizance the entire country. That the president who is currently in office, even though is not of the PDP, is from the north, and as such, the candidate should come from the south. But the argument. Sir, one moment. The argument of Vice President Abubakar is that the last person who held position within the party was from the south. I mean, as president, was from the south, and as such, it should go back to the north.
If zoning should be within the party, the last election we ran was in 2019. The party came out clearly to zone to the north, and nobody from the south ran. So, acting within the party, the last was to the north, the next should be to the south. Simple.
But the northern candidate did not win.
Must you win? Is it, must you win? You must not win.
Why did the party zone to the north last time?
Because they opened the system, the circumstances at the time, and it was the turn of the north. And a return to the north.
So this time around, you are arguing that it is the turn of the south.
Sure.
Regardless of whether or not a southern president wins, are you saying that the next time, because we also know that there is this two-term thing. Usually, if one person is able to take it, there is usually that respect. The ticket is usually offered to the incumbent. So for the sake of argument...
Yeah, we are not talking about the tenure. So, because you merge rotation with the constitutional provision. The Constitution allows a candidate to run for 2 terms.
Indeed.
So if you are to run for 2 terms constitutionally, the rotation applies after you are 2 tenure. And let us also be conscious of the fact that we are all part of this system. In 2015, it is largely argued, and maybe rightly so, that PDP lost the election because it was the turn of the north and it didn't return to the north. And everybody across board now rose to it. And the president then, in his good nature, realizing in the interest of the country that if that was a mistake, okay, I'm not going to quarrel over it. And he congratulated the next president. Everybody, including in our party, was conscious of the fact that it was the turn of the north.
Let me take you up on this issue of corruption.
Go ahead.
There have been questions as to how you also managed the office of the SGF of the Federation while you headed the Centenary City project, which was supposed to mark Nigeria's 100 years of being an amalgamated nation. Right now, we understand that there are questions about investigations from the EFCC, land grabbing, etc. How do you respond to some of these allegations that have found its way into the public space?
As an experienced person, there are certain things you don't say, even if you hear by the roadside. Land grabbing in FCT. For God's sake. It's only FCT minister that can allocate land under a certificate of occupancy. So what is land grabbing? Putting that by the side, the issue of centenary celebration was a government policy. And what I brought to bear, proudly so, was the time the project was conceived. And I walked up to the president and I told the president, we can run this project at no cost to the government.
How was it funded?
Of course, private sector. The president, we made a proposal to him which he agreed, and we hosted all business leaders in the country to a dinner and told them, this is the centenary celebration, this is the program, these are the opportunities in it, these ones are part of the program, these ones are opportunities that can endure, that they should support it. And people did. And that's how we funded all the centenary programs. Now, the legacy program was the Centenary City. And the Centenary City didn't just come as an interest or as a business. Centenary City came because within the period we reviewed Abuja. And Abuja Master Plan had no room for recreation. It had no room for entertainment. It had no room for leisure. It was planned for less than 1 million population, just as an administrative city. We reviewed the Dubai example. I went to Dubai myself. And with the man who did Dubai, flew Dubai street by street. We reviewed Canary Wharf development in East London. It's a private development. And by the time we reviewed all this, we now got the man who did Dubai to agree to do Centenary for Abuja. He visited, met with the president, met with all of us. We now agreed that we should give him land, we should make sure it's a free zone, then we should, all local issues should be taken away from them. They will bring their money, do the design, develop the city, sell, recover. Eventually, the project didn't go far before we left office. And when we left office, the new government thought that, yes, we were just telling lies, that government money was cornered to it. Go and look at it now. So there's no investigation that has not been carried about centenaries. In fact, the land grabbing you talked about, the first they said was that the land of the people were not paid compensation. And by the time they got into it, they couldn't help it because the compensation on Centenary City was done by FCT. When it was time to pay compensation, the management of the place asked FCT, use your standard, do the evaluation, do the enumeration, get us the estimate. We will give you, then you go and pay them. They did, sent in a letter. After they have done the enumeration, captured their biometrics, their pictures, documented, then got the estimate on everything about it, and now communicated in writing to the Centenary management and put an account, FCT account, where the money should be paid to. And the money moved from the Centenary City account to FCT, and FCT paid them. And these things are straight. So when people talk about this...
So were you surprised at the allegations that came out of this?
We changed the government, and that's all. Government changed, that's all. And it's not me, I didn't lose anything, it's the nation that lost. That would have been a high point in the development history of Africa that would have just cited here at no cost to anybody.
Well, Senator Anyim, Pius Anyim, thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
Thank you, Bobby.
That's the program tonight, but share your thoughts on what you've just heard and what you make of the political season, which is currently coming up, and the many aspirants which are currently showing up. Thank you for watching. I'm Maukwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.
Juicy, right? But how about now?
Please.
Come here. Why should you pluck before they ripen? Why should you hit and kick until it's no longer desirable? Why should you harvest without her permission? You stare.
You're in your 400 level, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't want to risk, coming back again. You have to just...
Until you demand her fruit in exchange for grades. If you see something, say something.
Hold it right there.
Girls and women are tender gifts. Let's nurture them, even as they nurture. Sexual and gender-based violence is against nature. Let's end all crimes today.
This project is supported by the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism under the Report Women FIRP Fellowship.
Good evening to you. My name is Chinamaram Joseph, and I welcome you to today's edition of You and the Economy. Now, there is no doubt that the most popular and indeed the best known in the court of public opinion among the intervention schemes of the Central Bank of Nigeria to aid the realization of the strong resolve of the sitting federal government led by President Muhammadu Buhari to promote food security, reduce Nigeria's dependence on oil as a major source of foreign exchange earnings, and also ease pressure on the country's foreign reserves by curbing the unrestrained importation of raw materials that can be locally produced, is the Anchor Borrowers Program, ABP. It is also arguably the most successful. But immensely successful as it is, the ABP is not the only intervention program deployed by the CBN to achieve the core objectives of the program that we just enumerated. There is also the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme called CACS, which is deployed to achieve similar objectives. Unlike the ABP, which is primarily directed at smallholder farmers, even as big-time processors of agricultural commodities like rice mills oftentimes benefit from it too, the audience targeted by CACS are mostly big and medium-sized players in the agricultural sector. These are ventures mostly involved in value addition by processing agricultural commodities in their raw state to yield derivatives and other products of added value that can be exported or further utilized as raw material by the manufacturing sector to produce end products and reduce the demand for foreign exchange to import same by that sector. In this edition of the program, we take a look at how CACS was used to birth a major cassava processing factory in Nigeria.